Hello, friends. I'm going to talk about depression. I'm going to talk about what I've been thinking about. I'm going to talk about the when depression's coming on for myself, getting loose with things. It's what I think is a part of the apathy and getting loose-tongued behavior. Things for me, I notice that things are not as tight, and I'm not thinking in a way of where I'm conscious of things that I've got to do or whatever. I'm more thinking of the way of ending things, or I'm going in the way of texting someone something where I'm not really being very considerate, or I'm not being kind, or I might even have more urge to. I'll have something that generally I'd want to hang on to, and then I'd have the urge just to toss it in the trash, or I'd say, and then I stop for a second and say, hang on a second, no, I don't want to throw this away. So I was thinking about it because this last few days I've been more than a few days. I've been in depression, and I have to differentiate different degrees of depression. Right now, I'd say I'm about a 6 out of 10. The worst I've ever been is the standard of 10 for myself. 6 is still, subjective. It's still not pretty. I'll have thoughts about ending things. And not only a thought about it, I'll actually think, yeah, that's what I need to do. That's what I need to do. The same as if you have the thought or the urge to say, yeah, I'm going to call it my friend. That's what I need to do. Or it's time I called up my sister or something. Same thing. Yeah, it's time to do that. And then I as usual have to stop, and I have to take a step back, and I have to always remind myself that that is depression. Because if I'm up, that's generally not ever anything that I'm thinking about, and I'm thinking the other way of these things I want to do. So in the depression, I'm thinking about ending things, and I'm not only talking about life. I'm I am thinking about separation, or I'm thinking about, at least through examples, through things I've done in my life, where I've gone up to people and I said, "Yeah, I'm out of here, man. I'm just, I'm out of here. Why? Why are you leaving? I'm just done. I'm done. I'm done with this place. I'm done with you. I'm done with whatever." And I can't explain it. Back in the day, I would say, "No, I can't explain it." I can. Today, I can explain it. It's depression. And there's also appreciation of things in life, however, however it is in life, whatever it is. There's always the accountability, and I can look at I could look at the reason. I could look at the outside of depression, and it's just saying, okay, I don't like this, and I like this because of this reason and this reason and this reason. And during depression, that reason for disliking something is even bigger. And that's the apathy, I think. And I also think it's a heightened sense of something that's not good. And I think that this is possibly if you can really channel in, you can use this as a tool to really look at something that you've been manic about or euphoric about, and you can really say to yourself, all right, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this? What is it that I like about this person? What is it I like about this thing that I use? Why do I even care? Why do I buy this? Why do I even care about half the things that I do or have? There really is something to the elimination of things in life where you can use that for you. If you look at it as it's only depression and whatever decision that you're making or thinking about is not any good, well, I don't think so. I think as I said, just a heightened sense of things that are not good, valuing in a way. So you can write those things down. I can write those things down. And then when my mood changes, I can go back in there and say, okay, well, in this mood, this is how I value this person. This is how I value these things that I was saying that I didn't want anymore. Not so much here, so I wanted to hang on to a lot of those things that I was saying, or just have a different angle of thinking about that thing that I was kind of hard on. And that's myself too. Looking in the mirror, I could be hard on myself during those times with my body image, with my behavior, with my memories in my life. And so that was something I was thinking about yesterday. I was thinking about some of the times when I was a younger person, and I remember really well. I was inside of a mall that was demolished down the street, and that I liked going to when I was a kid. I was maybe 17, 16, and I've always had a thing about shoes. I have a shoe thing. It's not a fetish. It's just I really like shoes a lot. And back then, if I found a pair of skateboard shoes that I wanted, it was really not anything for me to unload quite a bit to get a pair of shoes. And I remember sitting in this shop, and I was looking at the skateboard shoes. I think I might have been 23 when this happened. I don't remember. I think I was 23, not 17. I was sitting there looking at the shoes, and I had a pair of DVSs in my hand, and I remember I was sitting there looking at them, and I didn't know what I, of course, know now about mood swings and depression, and I didn't know any of that. All I knew is that I behaved a certain way, or I would do certain things in a certain mood. And so I would, if I was in this mood, I'd usually do this kind of thing. If I was in this mood, I'd usually do this kind of thing. And I only know that now by looking back, that I identified that I had those moods. I didn't back then at all. I definitely knew about depression, at least when I would go through a very hardcore low, which I'd had probably about a year before where I'm talking about now. So I was sitting there looking at these shoes, and I remember looking at them, and I was so disgusted with these shoes. I hated them so much. It destroyed my feeling for shoes at that very moment. And I think it was at that point that I almost permanently stopped liking skateboard shoes. And that's the wild thing about the mind and depression. I even tried them on, and I hated the way they felt. And I was looking at all the shoes on there, And I wasn't liking a single shoe. They were all crap, in my opinion. And I noticed that the prices had gone up quite a bit on these shoes in the last 5 years or so. And it was right then and there, in that low, apathetic mood, that I had realized that I didn't want anything to do with this anymore. And I go through this in other areas of my life, other segments, or with people, with what I'm doing or how I'm doing it or any of that kind of stuff. Once that cycle comes around, where there's that obvious depression, I I really go through that, where I remove things from my life. I remove people from my life. And basically, as I've described it. So I think it's important, especially for younger people that go through the same things that have gone through, that they will go through similar things. Not exactly the same. They'll go through similar things. To identify this, to know this, to hang on to close buddies that you've had for a long time is very important, I think. No one, including yourself, is ever going to be perfect, because perfection is subjective. So that's an abyss. It's not anything that you'll ever be, and it's not anything that other people will ever be. Well, then why are we not friends with everyone? Why are we not going around hugging and kissing everyone? There's so many differences to each human that it's not going to happen. That kind of stuff's not going to happen. It's too bad, because there's malicious people out there. There's people that are maybe having emotional situations themselves from their own genetics, and they are mean people. They're just mean. It's obvious that I'm not really going to want to go up and hug and kiss these people and say peace and love, brother. It's not going to happen. I'm just gonna let that person live, and that's the way it goes. I gotta mention that, because if you're saying to yourself, well, I've had this friend for a long time and they're kind of an asshole, yeah, maybe you can stick with them. Maybe you can just put a little space there or whatever. And if you go through that same thing that I'm talking about, where you get to that point with that depression, and you're in an apathetic mindset where you're evaluating things, and you say, all right, this person is a piece of crap. I don't want anything to do with them. Well, if you go through that, this is the thing that's important, that I think that I'm going to relay to you, to others, is that you really can, in those times, say things or get loose, get tongue in cheek, get that throwaway-ish time that comes around, and then that with alcohol or without alcohol, just being in a very depressive situation, you are very sharp with someone. You say, hey, I'll give you an example. You just flip out. You just say, hey, look, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people with mood swings do this time and time again. I have. And I'd say even casual type conversation type things, where as certain things come out, and I think a lot of people are understanding of my personality because they've known me so long. So they're somewhat forgiving that I'll say something to them. And there's some things that come to mind right then and there that I've said to people that are close to me, that in a different mood I'd realize or understand inside of my brain. That's not something that I say to someone, because that's kind of sensitive or not very nice to say. It's not a pleasant thing, at least, to say. I mean, I could be very blunt. I could be very bold And I could also tip over into a counterproductive type thing to say that's is somewhat, it's going off in a direction that's going to trigger their mind or bring up things that just suck. That there's no sense to it. There's no reason for it. It's just you're. I am allowing my brain is to be too loose with that depression. So I've got to consciously say to myself, okay, if I'm around other people and I'm in a depressive mood, I've got to say to myself, all right, I have to do 50% more inside of my head to keep crap from coming out of my mouth. I've got to be, you know, I'm not really saying that I've got to fake it, because I'll do that if I have to. I mean, obviously, I'm faking it. It's kind of, that's what it is all the time with all this mood swings. A lot of faking, just to be nice, because this is very important. So the whole mindset of religious type stuff. Oh, always be honest, always be truthful. Well, that can go against this. And if you're in a situation in your mind, or you're in a situation, and in your mind you're saying, "Well, I'm just a truthful person. I don't have a filter. I'm just a truthful person." Well, then this is what I'm talking about. This is the how the mind. It's up to you what you want to have come out of your freaking head. And as far as moods go, you might not be happy. You might not be. You might be suffering or whatever. That's subjective too. You are not feeling well. You're with someone that you've known for a long time, or you have some kind of thing that you're going to. Let's say that your friend is getting married, and you're going to go to the wedding because you've known them for a long time, and it means a lot to them. I wouldn't want to go. I don't want to go to weddings or any of that kind of stuff. And it means a lot to them, so there's pressure. And it happens to hit right on a day when you're extremely depressed. Well, if the depression is so much, if I'm up and above where I'm at right now, and I'm at an 8 or a 9, I wouldn't go. And basically, communication is very important. So if your friend knows, or your family, and you say, hey, you've got depression going on right now, and if they consider that an excuse and that you're lying, well, that's up to them. I wouldn't fear that they are going to accuse you of lying, because I'd rather be accused of lying than go to this thing and where people are asking you a lot of questions that know you, that haven't been around for a long time, so they're hitting you with questions and all that stuff, and it's not going to go pretty. It's not going to go pretty at all. So I would not go. Now, if I did go, and my depression was a little less, then I then would put a lot of pressure on myself to make sure that I have headphones on, that I have, as weird as it all is going to come out to be, I'd make sure that I'm sitting in the corner. I'd make sure that my face is there. And every time that I'm talking to anyone, it's as if I'm in some kind of dialogue type situation. And that's how careful I have to be with my mouth when I'm depressed, because I can say some very, very fucked up shit. Bad. Very bad. I can be, I'm thinking about my father's retirement party, and there was a bunch of people there, and it hit when I was depressed as shit. And I didn't even look good at all. In the photos, I had black rings around my eyes. Usually when I'm real depressed, I have black rings around my eyes, and things are just not looking good. I look sick. And I had it in my head that everyone was looking at me weird. And I'm not going to be able to go with that, because I'm already there, and I'm sitting there, and I'm going through all these things that I don't want anything to do with, and I'm listening to all these things that I don't want to hear, and I'm watching people stuff their face with food that I don't want anything to do with. That's the miserableness of wanting to get out, to get away from everything, to get out of life, and that's depression. To me, you might have a different description. A very uncomfortable me in these situations. I'd be uncomfortable in that situation anyway. Still, now I am. Now I have depression also sitting on top of me. So, and I really do not know for sure whether or not I'm going to be extremely depressed on one day or feeling a little better. So when I catch that wave of a little bit of a better feeling, that's when I hop up and say, okay, I can do this, 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 this. Let's get on this right now. Because it could be 2 weeks before I get to that again. And that's one thing that I also think about when I'm saying, okay, this is all the reasons that life suck and I don't want to be here anymore. And I can think about that in any mood. That right there, where I do not have that consistent mood, at least to the point where something affects me and it makes me sad, or something affects me and makes me happy. Well, I don't really have that. I don't really have that. I'm not affected that way. If I am happy, or happier, a feeling that I would identify as a happiness, because I know that there's times where I could be a little bit more happy, then I can roll on a little more. I can say, all right, it's the same as what I was saying before, where I could just pinpoint, all right, this is what I need to do with myself during this time. Now I've got to completely rearrange my life around my brain. And I've heard people say that defensively in their videos where they've said, I am not my disease. I am not my depression. I am not bipolar. I am me. And when I hear that, I'm saying, I don't think so. Not saying that's not the way it is for me, and it's not that I've forfeited to that and said, oh, well, that's just the way it is. That is the way it is. So I think this is a very frustrating thing about having being born with this kind of brain that I know I share with others. I know there's others out there that have this brain. If someone says that the outlook of life comes from within, and you're going to go out there in life and you're going to grab the bull by the horns and it's all up to you and everything. It's so frustrating to the max to convey to you that with this situation where I wake up at 3 a.m., I wake up at wherever, I wake up here, I wake up there, I could be I could be laughing when I wake up, and I could wake up depressed. Now I gotta be able to convey and articulate that it's not the case. It's not the situation. If I say, okay, mortality is a pile of shit. Well, I'm gonna say that in any mood, because that's how everything is inside of my head. To where I get to the very top, where I say, okay, well, life is a pile of crap, because of mortality. So we're going to go through all this stuff, and in life, we're going to go through all of it. You're going to climb the biggest peak. You're going to get that Fortune 500. You're going to do all that stuff. You're going to get older, deprecate, and die. There's no way that I'm going to say to myself, "Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful." Not going to happen. Not going to happen. I'm not going to placate myself and say to myself that life is okay in that area. It's not going to happen. And then when I'm in depression, it's definitely an issue, and I really am pissed off about that, big time. Now these are, I lost track there of what I was thinking. I think it's basically, between you and me, if someone is saying to me that, oh, let me put it this way. If someone says, hey, consider being grateful. I understand. Consider loving something more. I understand. And I've said it myself, that if you can say in depression, to even just say the word love, you'll have a little bit of a better feeling. Because then my mind will start branching out to ways or thoughts that will bring in at least a little bit of feeling. Very true. Self-evident for myself. Self-evident. It's very important. In a moment where I've been and I've mentioned this before, in the lowest lows, the worst depressions of my life, I had to, I was crawling in my mind, grabbing for something that could give myself a little bit of feeling, so that way I could start thinking of the things that I needed to do to get myself back on top, which is also always the thing with depression, is going to get your exercise, eat better foods, got to look up lots of stuff that has to do with the foods. And I'd like to point out that yesterday I had some fruit. I never eat fruit. Never ever. Because it really makes me depressed when I eat fruit. And if anyone out there wants to argue that food doesn't have anything to do with mental health, or electrolytes don't have anything to do with mental health, refer to my other videos where I talk about electrolytes having to do with mental health, and how there's drugs that are prescribed to people that have to do with electrolytes, blocking electrolytes in the brain. Something that I hate eating is bananas, and I blended up some bananas that I had in my freezer that I generally give to my conure, my bird, and as soon as I had that blended up smoothie, my depression just went way up. And it's not a mystery to me that potassium is one of the large reasons for problems with my brain. There's no doubt. So that's a tip. That's information for you. Digest that how you will. Some people, they do not like the truth. They don't want to hear about the truth. And if it's not something that's breastfed to them by the top page of Google search of how do I get better, with their pre-selected searches, is this good? Is this good for me? Now you can look that up. Oh, is this good for me? Yeah, let us breastfeed you. Let us put it directly into your face. What isn't good for you? If you can identify, if it's self-evident what's going on. I've gone over this so many times. Every time I load up on high potassium foods, I get extremely depressed. And that's a big tip that I send on over to you. So every time I'm drinking these beers, These are higher in potassium. These, if I do things closer to right with my eating, this is the most potassium I'll have all day. I won't have, since I'm not feeling very well, I will not eat any potassium foods today. So that means basically rice, not minute rice, cooked rice. And I have some tuna steaks. I'm going to have some of those tuna steaks. Not canned tuna steaks. That I don't have very often because they're kind of expensive. And I grill those, or I pan fry them with a little bit of coconut oil. And it makes them taste pretty good. And maybe a little bit of olive oil for fats. And I have to eat that way to bring myself back. And as long as I do that, I basically always come back. So there's always that want for something that will have a diuretic effect. And I know this is where I'll probably grab you. Coffee, caffeinated drinks, Red Bulls, all those things. You love those things. If you're a mood swing person, you probably love Red Bulls or coffee or tea or Coca-Cola or Dr. Pepper or something with some kind of caffeine in it. Maybe you enjoy having other stimulants, street stimulants, over-the-counter stimulants. Maybe you enjoy or go to, maybe not enjoy, you just find yourself taking more and more cold medicines, or you find yourself taking more and more of something that has something to do with unloading things from your body, mucus and anything. Well, there's a reason for that. So first of all, what are you taking in? And then why are you taking in these things that make you want to eliminate from your body? Why is that? And why are they abundant in 4 or 5 aisles of the grocery store? Why is that? You know, it's not strange to know that people, they call it abusing laxatives. Why do people abuse laxatives? Why are people so sick looking? Why is that? Why is everyone looking so sick? Why is there not an abundance of health out there? Of course there's going to be in certain areas. It's not in my area. I'll spot maybe 1 out of 20 people that look reasonably healthy when I go to the grocery store. One of the only places that I go to. When I go to the gas station, it's like maybe 1 in 40 people look abundantly healthy. And I'm talking about clear skin. I'm talking about their gait, how they walk. Are they hobbling? Are they all discombobulated? What's going on with these people? You know, there's always something with everyone that I'm noticing. Their hair is not looking too healthy. Their eyes are not looking too white. Their teeth are not looking healthy. Their fat composition, their body composition is not looking healthy. I understand that there's people that are going to carry more fat than other people, it can be healthy. It's still it's an unhealthy looking composition, as if McDonald's has been a little too much going in. Too many McFlurries, too many chemicals, too much garbage. So those are my thoughts lately. I basically have been thinking about those things. And my tips are, 1, you have to put more into consciously thinking about what you are thinking to say, what you're thinking to do. And a lot of restraint, probably, more than anything. Whenever there's extremes in any kind of mood, there's got to be some kind of restraint. There's got to be a really diminishing yourself down to where, okay, I'm usually at about 100% here. I got to be at about 50% here with relaxing on my fluidity of what I'm doing, bringing yourself down to 50% roughly, and saying to yourself, okay, regardless of what my feelings for anything, because that's in a not so good place. So the last thing that you have is that little bit of consciousness where you can hold back a little bit and really take your time. And if you seem a slow robot or whatever, that's my tip. And tip 2 is, and I'm not saying to do it. I'm not saying that you need to do this. I'm saying this is what I do, is I cut back on my potassium. And the highest potassiums are bananas. This is the general things that people buy and consume. Bananas, any fruits, basically though, bananas, potatoes, French fries. That's a big consumption that people take in, French fries. And then I'd say the other really big ones that people take in are coffee, a lot of potassium in coffee, and a lot of potassium in chocolate. Those are very high potassium foods. So lowering those potassium foods certainly does quite a bit. And it goes even deeper, how the body will hold on to potassium. So that's something that you got to also keep in mind, is that the body holds on to potassium and it loses sodium faster. So if you're out running or whatever, your body's holding on to potassium more and your body's letting go of sodium. So when you're saying, oh, I need more sodium, well, and you don't want to take in salt, well, you have to look into that a little bit. Yeah, the body controls, it's supposed to, it's generally what it does. It controls how it holds on to or it lets go through different hormones in the body. So if you are taking in less of all those things, salt and all that stuff, your body's going to hang on to it. Androsterone, I think it's called, hormone, and your parathyroid, and as far as hanging on to potassiums and all that, you even have, and to have our brains are not supposedly or so-called not functioning well enough. There's also the antidiuretic hormone made from, I don't remember what part of the brain. It's in the brain. So if you have a lot of thirst, for one, the iodide inside of salt makes you very thirsty, and it's not a necessary nutrient, regardless of what they put on the freaking labels of salt. Iodine is the actual nutrient. It's not iodide. That's a chemical. That will make you very thirsty. Iodine will make you very thirsty. So you only need very little bits of it. So if you have a lot of thirst, you probably are taking in too much of this iodide or iodine. So if you're taking in kelp or whatever, too much of it, that's possibly why. Or this antidiuretic hormone inside of your brain. Keep that in mind. So if there's some kind of swelling going on in the brain or something going on with our brains, that can be affected as well. If there's any kind of anything in the brain that's affecting how the brain functions. For example, the giant syndrome, where people have the small little non-malignant, the little cyst growth tumors inside of the brain that's pushing up against the growth hormone area, then they end up producing too much growth hormone, and they end up being 6, 7, 8 feet tall. So it's, the brain, if there are issues going on with the brain, there's going to be this rippling effect. There's going to be other issues that go on with the brain. By just by taking in all those fruits yesterday, I started feeling numb around my mouth, and my right ear was numb in the eardrum area all the way down through. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, because it's been a long time since I've had bananas. It's been a long time that I was thinking, well, what is that? What is that? All the numb? Well, that's nerves. That's the nervous system for being numb. It could be something else. I don't know about you. If something goes numb, that's your nerves. And yeah, it maybe lasted about 2 hours, and then it started to slowly go down as I started doing things to dehydrate, to taking a very hot shower, doing things to lose electrolytes from my body, and then I started to come around. So it's night and day. As soon as I start doing these things, I can bring my depression down. And I don't know about you. That might be one of the greatest tips I have. Is that's I can actually do something about my depression. I'm not taking to bring down my depression. I'm not taking something that so and so says that I needed to take. I've done all that, and those things don't do shit. Not for my brain. Maybe it'll do something for you. You might have some kind of different mechanism of depression. Another reason for why you have depression, which is possible, of course. I've brought this up maybe 2 or 3 times, and I'll bring it up again because it's relevant. It's very relevant. I can bring up other things such as biotin raises your potassium levels. Vitamin D raises your potassium levels. Why is there so much vitamin D inside of dairy in milk? Why is that? Why is it now I look at the milk and it says ultra vitamin D or super vitamin or whatever, mega vitamin D? What the fuck is that? Why is there mega vitamin D in there? No one gives you anything in life. You don't just get anything. You have to go. If it's something that's good for you or it's something that you need, then you have to buy it separate and then add it in. They don't just give it to you. Question, hello, why is all that? Why is there so much potassium inside of milk? Why is there so much salt in milk? Well, salt has the iodide. So you're taking this shit in. It's a wholesome thing. It makes strong bones. Oh, really? Well, maybe people that do not have the issue with the effect that these things have on their brain are still having the effects on their bodies. So they can still go around and everything is whatever because they're not affected mentally. What about the rest of their body? What about the rest of their body? And I can go even deeper. I'm not going to. I'll spare you because there's only so much that we can chew on at one time. So anyways, best to you guys. I'm sending my love out to Ukraine. Fucking bullshit. Just fucking bullshit. It really is. I've got a friend in Moscow. She has a big heart and she feels real bad about what's happening to Ukraine. And all of this, U.S. punishes Russia. Europe punishes Russia. They're not punishing Russia. This is rich people being fuckers, man. And I feel her love because I know she's just getting lumped in. And I doubt she's alone. She's not alone. Humanity does not want this crap. And people, if there's anyone out there saying, "Oh, it's fucking Russians" or whatever, no, it's not the people. It never is the people. People don't want this crap. Only malicious people want this type of stuff. Those are the only people that want this kind of stuff that are not involved with the decisions or any of that. It's just your street people. They say, yeah, but the bigots and all that. These are just malicious people. Or they seriously have been conditioned, and they do not have any information at all. Zero information. So my heart goes out to the Ukrainians. I feel really bad about that. And I was sick for 6 days. I had so much mucus. It's ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I think six days being sick straight is maybe a tops for me, since I was a little tiny kid. And I thought about the Ukrainians. Instead of sitting there saying to myself, oh man, I thought about them. I thought about people that would have to split and take off with having the flu or whatever, having a cold the same as I had. And, and I was saying to my friend, she's a female, she's about my age, she's about 40, 41. She lives in Moscow. She goes through schizophrenia and through mood swings. She's been labeled schizophrenic, bipolar. She writes me. She says she was worried and all that. And I said, take off the freaking media. Take the media apps out. Take out all that crap. Turn the TVs off. And she wrote back and said, yeah, I need to do that. I need to do that. If you can recognize that this doesn't stop, that the last 2 years of all that stuff that didn't come through to you didn't ruin things for you and mess with your nervous system and mess with your anxiety, it's not going to stop. It's the turd channeling keeps coming through. Oh, shootings here, something's there. An entirely different topic that possibly I'll go on and on about at another time. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging with me here, 47 minutes. Thank you. I appreciate it. And, if there's something that you want to say, or you have questions for me, or you have more information on top of what I've put in here, I welcome it. I would like to hear it. As always, I'd rather this be a discussion. And everyone take care. Erase those freaking apps. And love your friends and love the people that have been around for some time with you, regardless of your mood. It's a very important message. When your mind's messing with you, you got to keep it in mind. If you even have to write it on the wall or write it on a whiteboard or whatever, that this person's done this, and they're good things. So that way you can overcome that one thing that's really pulling you down, that can really ruin a relationship. Because people can only take so much before they're going to X your ass. Which I've done both ways. It's been done to me and I've done it to them. And it's a horrible thing to realize after the smoke is cleared. They're gone and they're not ever going to come back. And I've been there. Too many people have disappeared from my life, from my behavior, during things that I was born with to have something to do. And it's still, if it's a matter of them realizing it or not, the way I put it is, if you're a piece of shit, you're a piece of shit. And there's no excuse for someone wanting to get away from someone that's a piece of shit. I hate the reality of that. It's true, though, in my mind. So keep that in mind. And, I want the best. I want the best for everyone. I want peace and love as much as it can go around. So take care of yourselves. And I'll be back another time.